I'm not standing over here because this is some kind of power trip. It's just a place for me to put my coffee. But I do, seriously, in talking about coffee, an earlier panel mentioned you had to choose between educating and entertaining. And the good news is that in the final panel of the day, we're going to do both. So kudos to you who stuck around, not only for the fact that you made yourselves eligible for an ice cream scoop. So I'll just start with an introduction of myself. My name's Townend. I'm SVP of Advanced Media Sales and Operations for ALLCITY Network. We are a digital sports video and podcast network. We're recently entered into the Philadelphia market after expanding from Denver to Phoenix to Chicago, and we're producing daily content and distributing across YouTube and Spotify. Our efforts are around really honing in on an individual market's professional teams primarily, and adapting to the more movement toward digital consumption as legacy terrestrial radio and regional sports networks struggle. So that's me. And then I'd like to go down the line here and have everyone else tell us a little bit about themselves.
Yes, my name is Amit Sharma. I'm an Associate Vice President at Church & Dwight. I lead their digital marketing, D2C, and media. And by the way, after seeing this picture, I can say anything today, and this guy is getting in trouble.
Hi, I'm Allison. I look after brand, culture, and media at Shipt. We are a same-day delivery provider. We're owned by Target, so if you've ever gotten your Target stuff delivered in an hour, that's Shipt. And we work with about 130 other retailers. And yes, you're not imagining things. I'm 8 months pregnant.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Shipe. I think there was a Shipley, so like the French, Shipe, I guess we get that a lot. So I am a fractional CMO. So I have a consulting company, and I'm currently working with Kleinfeld Bridal, the home of Say Yes to the Dress. Are there any Say Yes fans here? Okay, good. Any Kleinfeld brides? Yes, I love it. So after years of being in marketing in a lot of different functions, I was at Starbucks for 10 years. I was at Carter's. We love a baby at Carter's, and Oshkosh Bagosh for 5. I am in the world of bridal now, as well as a few other brands.
Awesome. Thank you all. Glad to have you all here. And again, thanks to Brand Innovators for having us, and to all of you for staying through the end. I think it's going to be worth it. So one of the things that I'm always struck by, and I think we've done a good job of it here in this environment, but how many of these events I go to where we talk about the latest technology and acronyms and so on and so forth, and we get really deep into the weeds, and then we forget, like, the reason we got into marketing in the first place is around the consumer, right, and the user experience. And so I think it's really important as we talk and end the day discussing the future of marketing that we really go back and look at the foundational roots of why we're here, and that's to help marketers move product off of shelves and for that experience for consumers to be as seamless and friendly as possible. So I think, put another way, marketing itself does not work without a marketplace. So I think the focus on a holistic customer experience is really, really obviously quite important, but it's changing, to say the least. So I'm going to pose the first question, Allison, to you. When we were preparing and speaking about some of the things that we wanted to discuss today, we talked about the traditional consumer funnel, awareness, consideration, and then ultimately conversion. That's obviously changing a great deal. Can you help us understand a little bit more about what Shipt is doing when it comes to engaging with, retaining, understanding that customer journey as it evolves?
Totally. So just to make sure everyone that is remaining, and thank you for staying, is awake still, I want to end the day here with a dramatic statement, which is that I think the funnel is dead. And I think the funnel has been dead for a long time. I think it's helpful to have a framework or a template for our teams to use to sort of conceptualize the journey. But as Stark said, I mean, at the end of the day, all of those various phases that a consumer is sort of passing through to get to the point where they're transacting have collapsed, right? And so the way that we're thinking about that is a fewfold. One is in our creative, in our media targeting, we're thinking about, as we're making you aware that we exist, we're also letting you know that we've got a promo or, some kind of value prop for you to take advantage of in that moment. So just because we're buying an awareness ad doesn't mean there can't be any kind of, action-oriented CTA there. And then similarly, at the bottom of the funnel, traditionally, I think there's still room for storytelling and engagement and emotion. So that's one of the ways that we're thinking about just sort of connecting all of those various pieces of the journey that have been traditionally very separate. The other is, I'll just illustrate if you'll let me with a kind of 25-second anecdote about what I think makes Shipt special. So a few months ago, my 3-year-old was a little under the weather, and I realized end of a hectic workday, we were almost out of grape infant Tylenol. And if anyone has, it's the only flavor he'll tolerate, if anyone has a toddler or has had one, you know what I mean when I say the only flavor he will tolerate. And like I said, hectic workday, had been traveling, I don't think my husband was home, and the last thing I wanted to do is bundle everyone up and go, to the store and get it. So open my Shipt app, connect with one of my preferred shoppers who was working that evening and able to grab my order. Thought, let me toss in some groceries, paper towels, that kind of thing. Goes to Target, gets all my stuff. She texts me on my phone when she gets there. They're out of this thing. Would you like this one instead? Whatever. And I'm messaging her, I'm so grateful that you're going to get the Tylenol. My son's sick. She gets to the Tylenol aisle. They're out. So this is where Shipt comes in, is that she took it upon herself, and our lovely hosts, Rite Aid earmuffs, but we work with CVS, sorry. She went out of her way to go and get the Tylenol, the grape Tylenol, in addition to my Target order on her way to drop my order off. So in all of those various stages, there's a lot of different things happening for, as Stark said, the holistic consumer experience. She's connecting with me and making me feel like my needs are being met. There's content that we're serving up in the app from a merchandising perspective to sort of, hey, would you want to get, toilet paper and paper towel, that sort of a thing. As the, order is concluding, I'm served up a survey, like, how did you feel about that experience? So each of these steps is sort of just collapsed like an accordion. And as a marketer, we have to think about all of the things that need to happen each step of that way instead of kind of slicing each one off separately.
Thanks, Allison. I mean, obviously, you with Church and Dwight are quite different. I mean, adjacent to a degree, but quite different from Shipt. Same question to you in terms of the consumer traditional funnel, adjustments and adaptation.
Yep, perfect. So, well, thanks for sticking at 4:30. So I really love that. So as a manufacturer, as a brand, if I think about the funnel, there are two things come to the picture from a context perspective. So I think being a brand marketer by trade, we all lived into the world of like zero moment of truth or first moment of truth or second moment of truth. We all know that, right? So today, if you look at 60 to 70% of the sales in retail environment is influenced by digital. So I agree with you, funnel is dead. I think I call it most of the consumer journey aspect of it, and majority of that is taking place in a digital place, right? The second contest come to me is from a social media and influencer perspective, where I say, is it a funnel or is it a point? When I say point, think about that. I can go to TikTok, I can search the product, I can learn about it, and now at TikTok shop, actually I can buy it. So all of this can happen at that moment. So at Church and Dwight, when we think about it, and your questions about acquiring the consumer, engaging them, and making sure they stay with us, one of the things we are very proud of and constantly work on that, and I understand there is a digital marketing, but I used to say that it's still the marketing in a digital world. What does it mean? Brand purpose, the brand equity is the number one priority for us. We are a 177-year-old company, and a lot have changed in the last 177 years, and we are really proud the brand we are carrying, Arm & Hammer baking soda is still Arm & Hammer baking soda, and that we still have that give it a hammer, right? So you see that we are very diligent about when it's come to no matter what channel it is or what funnel we are talking about, we are heavily investing into the brand. That creates the awareness side of it. When we think about engagement and when we think about retention, we want to meet the consumer where they are, no matter you call it a journey or a funnel. So we are heavily invested into digital marketing in the last 3 years. And there has been a lot of emphasis on what exactly consumers are looking for it. And I'll give you an example. So last year, I was sitting in Google office, and we were talking about the creative. So one thing came to our mind is then we said, if my consumer are behaving differently in each platform, I'm a same person with a different picture on LinkedIn or a Facebook, or if you think about TikTok, but I behave very differently. So the question is, why would my brand, although rooted in the brand purpose, should behave same? And we come up with this idea, and you might have heard it as well, fit for platform, fit for purpose. So one of the idea we are saying is that as a traditional marketer, I start with 30-second TV ad, and then I go to 15, and I cut it down to 6, and I think about YouTube, and they're gonna skip it. I think we are rewriting this whole script upside down. We're gonna start with a 6-second ad, focusing on the product we sell, the brand we are proud of, and then create the slice of life around it, and then we move from a 6-second to 15-second to 30-second. And we are making sure, at least in this year, one of my critical success factors is 80% of my creatives are fit for platform. Otherwise, we don't even put on a platform. So that's basically really shows that as a manufacturer, brand is what we are at the core, and I think we're going to keep that alive and then work through the digital marketing and other ways to work through the funnel or consumer journey.
Very helpful. And I think, an overarching theme there is the notion and theme of personalization and making sure that you're meeting the consumer on their terms and in whatever environment they may be. So, I mean, Jen, there pretty much isn't anything more personal than comes to planning a wedding. That's probably close second or tied or what have you. It's neck and neck. But I won't opine on that. That's dangerous. But obviously, when you talk about customer experience and really getting it right, help us understand how you do that with Kleinfeld and your industry as a whole.
Well, there's a lot of times we don't get it right, which
Yeah.
is why there's a show that is built on tension. It's interesting. This always provokes new thoughts. So I had an idea of like how I would approach this, and what you said what really resonated is that when you think of the customer journey and their experience, and then you marry your day-to-day life, the days of I get up, I eat breakfast, I get my kids to school, and then I go to work and I drive, and then I come home and I have a meal, and that doesn't exist anymore. And so if you think about the person in personalization, you got to be where they are in those little micro moments. So, it's interesting because I do, bring a parallel to Carter's. And this is something that I pride myself as a brand marketer, as a consultant, is what we call interrogating the journey. And what that means is so we had this crazy map where we talked about the life of a parent. And it's up at the middle of the night for a feeding, and then you're here. And all of the different places where she's checking her phone, where you can insert, or not necessarily insert, but be a part of her day-to-day and that journey. And at Kleinfeld, we sell a pretty high-priced gown for what might be one of the biggest moments of her life. So there's no pressure. I think as a business, we're constantly interrogating so it's the most important day of her life, and the person that's in one consultant's room is having a very different experience in the room next to her, because her vision and her dream is different. We're all individuals. But just a few months ago, we did this full interrogation from the point that they decide they want to be at Kleinfeld to their, full journey in. What are all the potential touch points? And then we stopped and we said, keep going. Like, this isn't it. And because we went to the usual, okay, her appointment books, we send a confirmation and then a reminder, and here's what to expect, and it got very digital, it got very marketing journey. It felt very like we've lost the person and personalization. And through that effort, we went all the way to, she walks in our door, she sits in our lobby, she goes down for alterations, like, what's her mood, how do they feel? And one of the coolest unlocks for us was there is a tension that you feel when you come. Well, first of all, the lobby is a little bit more of an excitement, but the alterations, these brides have in many ways not seen their dress in months. And you go downstairs and it's like you can cut the tension because they're about to, and these poor seamstresses, our team is incredible. So we ended up realizing that there's got to be a way that we create a better experience for that really stressful moment in a bride's journey and for our team. And so we actually partnered with a spa that is up on the Upper East Side, and they created custom meditations for us. We have headphones, and we're working to install stations, and we're actually looking at it even in the bridal rooms when the consultant's leaving to go find her dresses after, they bring them in kind of ceremoniously. But that in-between moment, there is a gap, and her experience with the brand is her head is everywhere. She's by herself. Her family's outside. So how could we create ways to ease her tension, ease a little bit, and create a customized Kleinfeld experience in something, and actually change what I think might not be our best, her best, most positive experience into something that she remembers that Kleinfeld took care of.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. No, it's very helpful. And I think one of the great things about having such a diverse panel is that we can take lessons from each of their respective experiences. But what I also think is important for all of us in this room is to also come back to similarities and what we all have in common. And I think it's probably fair to say, and I'm interested in each of your opinions on this, in terms of, Business School 101, they talk about various disciplines. So, here's corporate marketing, and here's corporate finance, rather, and operations and ethics and all of the above. Within marketing, I always found it fascinating that there are so many different silos within marketing specifically, and they're continuing to expand. You talk about influencer marketing being the next evolution of social media. So when it comes to navigating and avoiding silos, how do you guys, tackle that? I'll pose it to each of you.
Should I start?
Yeah, please. Jen, yeah, we'll go back this way.
We'll work our way down. When I mentioned the customer interrogation and the journey, it can't be done by just the marketing team. We don't understand what an alterations fitter goes through every day if we're in our, we lead our specific channel, and we wouldn't have unlocked something that actually became a really cool brand partnership and something if we didn't also work with our operators. And, I think that's the most important thing for us is you can't do anything in a vacuum. Everything, and I think in a lot of times we can feel like we sit in our lane, they're in their lane. I think we have in many ways being a small business, even though we're big, we're still a family-run business. That it does feel more intimate, but I think ultimately is those decisions and that unlock didn't happen with just a marketing team. It happened because we talked to our fitters.
There's two things that come to mind for me on this point. The first is, I think it was Jeannie who mentioned earlier, as you kind of climb the ranks in probably any function, but marketing is what I know, you start to spend the majority of your time on the people side of the role, right? There's of course, the marketing technical side and making strategic decisions and setting the vision and all of that, but most of your time is spent on the team and clearing roadblocks and developing relationships. And so I try and spend an outsized amount of my time sort of preempting the need to have these relationships cross-functionally so that when my team needs them for basically everything that we do, that foundation has been set and it's easier to sort of grease the wheels there. The second thing, and this is super tactical, but we use something across all of Target, but Shipt as well, called CFTs. It's not like we invented that. I'm sure other businesses here use that, but cross-functional teams, which is, just a sort of a steering committee of sorts across a lot of different functions. But importantly, I look at that as an opportunity for a leadership role for someone more junior on the team to kind of step up and lead this, large project. And there's not that many opportunities to find that for folks who are high performing and looking for, a way to kind of get that visibility. So that's just a kind of tactical piece that works well for me.
I think if I think about Church and Dwight, one thing that comes to mind, we are talking about marketing and finance and supply chain, these, I call it traditional vertical. But let's think about within marketing as well. So there is a brand marketing, now we got our digital marketing, there's a shopper marketing, then there is a trade marketing. And I could clearly see the silos that happen in between as well, because my brand marketer want to spend a lot on the upper funnel to build the brand equity I just talked about. And then I have my retail team working in trade and social, think about retail media, which has been a talk of the town for almost every conference or every meeting I goes to. And you can see the clear difference because of how the incentives has been aligned. So I think for us, it's more about, as I discussed, one of the critical success factor is a key for us across the organization. It is published from CEO office, and we make sure that everybody's aligned to those critical success factors across the organization, regardless of which function you're working in. And what he does intentionally, very good job, is that sometimes he put a CSD and he put like a bunch of cross-functional teams together, because we do know that customer experience is a perfect example where if I'm saying I'm going to improve my customer experience by X% using a voice of customer, either it's NPS or CSAT, it is not job of my consumer affair team who's taking the phone call, but it's also what kind of comments I'm getting in a social and influencer marketing or social media, what kind of complaints coming to me, or what kind of other activities where I'm getting their feedback, or they're coming to my website, or they're leaving a feedback. So I think that's becoming really harder at the same time, is that as you become more and more specialized within marketing, it is going to create more silos, because the function is becoming very sophisticated as well. I was a brand marketer about 15 years ago, and today I call myself a digital marketer, but I can tell you I'm still the same guy, and I still have the same framework. I still see in the same way as consumer first, and I need to make sure I provide them the experience they truly want from my product or my services, whatever company I'm working for. So I think that's where it is.
Excellent. Yeah. So we're actually we're getting the light. So what I think we should do now is try and, what's that now?
It's the Oscar.
That's right, I'm getting played off. So I think what we're going to do now, what I'd like to do is close with a bit of a lightning round. And just, obviously, this is a great way to send us all out back into our daily lives as we speak about this overall topic of the future. So what I would ask of each of you, perhaps give us one word, if you can. I'm going to cheat and use a hyphenated word. But one word or succinct phrase that you, for your company and the broader industry, are excited about when it comes to, or focused on when it comes to the future of marketing. For us at ALLCITY, with the evolution and vast expansion of digital media and podcasting and the assimilation of sports content it's so fragmented, it really needs to be consolidated into really user-friendly environments that don't require people to be everywhere. For us, and the hyphenated word is future-proofing, and making sure that our business is future-proofed to the evolving habits of the consumer base. So back down the other way, Amit, one word or succinct phrase?
Sure, I can say 177-year-old, our word is, old company, not me, our word is change. At Church and Dwight, we believe what was true yesterday is not true today, and it won't be tomorrow. So we're excited about the change that's coming our way, and that's the way we have survived for over a century, and looking for another 177 years.
I really like that. This is very hard, by the way. If you're thinking in your head what you would choose, it's really difficult. I'm going to say personal as opposed to personalized. I talked a little bit about this, but Shipt is really about bringing the human connection back to online shopping. So we talk a lot about delight and joy. Our tagline is delight in every delivery in the brand platform campaign we launched with Issa Rae earlier this year. And for us, it's really about the high tech and the high touch coming together. So kind of the combination of those two things. I think increasingly important in this dawn of AI, and what does that mean for the kind of human role? A lot of people talked about that today. So that's where my brain is at, because I couldn't say something like head-bangingly difficult and complicated.
Okay, so I'm going to go a bit of a different direction. And as I think about the future and I think about our North Star, it's actually legacy. Because as a brand, and this is one of the areas as a consultant, as I came in, everyone was telling Kleinfeld, you got to be like this, you got to be like these new guys. With so many brands and products quickly, I mean, how quickly we can come to market now, you can't lose who you are and what you stand for, and the history that has built you to the brand that you've become as you look to the future. So legacy isn't a bad word. Legacy it gives you texture, it gives you depth, it gives you purpose that got you this far. And our founder of Kleinfeld, she passed away at 99 years old this year, and the coverage that we got, the New York Times wrote, she was in the New York Times that weekend, which is a huge deal in media. It's because the brand matters, and she has built a legacy that we need to carry forward and usher forward, and that's ultimately our job as marketers.
That's great. And I think that's a great way to bring everything full circle. Just in closing, the fact that we're so focused on the future, we can't do that without understanding the past and our legacies. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Brand Innovators. Thank you, Ted. Yeah.